Yes.
Okay. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The the wealth, richness of the world, of the creation, has been divided into four different parts and powers. These are the four power centers. And then no two centers should be together. That's why they have made four verticals. And those verticals have to be managed by somebody who's competent, because the kind of an activity connected with that verticals are also designed in that way, or that they evolve that way. Therefore, the activity that is designed or evolved is called as karma, and the people who can really handle that karma is supposed to be the guna. So therefore, basically, these verticals are varnas created by these four different verticals. Krishna says Jaturvarnam Maya System Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. It makes 100% sense that way, because basically it is not somebody who is particularly a particular varna just because he is born to a particular person or in a particular lineage. It's nothing like that. It was something which was open, because basically the idea is that purity at that level, the karma and the guna, when we maintain, then two things that we get it is, one thing is that that activity that is developed does not become a burden on somebody who does not belong to have, who does not have that kind of a character which you can really hold that. Similarly, the second aspect is that the work will be the most efficient that you can come out of with is the work that is more efficient. That's the reason why when all these four verticals that they have created, there is such a great development in the whole of Indian culture and Indian system, that we had excelled in every field in the Sanatana Dharma. Unfortunately, what happened is a lot of the historians did not present these things so clearly, or on the other hand, that they have also mismanaged the whole thing. And people somehow carried it and people believed it. And I'm really surprised at the way why that all this miscarriage of information was not nipped in the bud. Like, for example, very simple idea says that a Brahmana is somebody who has overpowered everybody. In fact, the scriptures very clearly say Brahmana does not possess anything. He doesn't even hold any weapon in his hand. All that he has is the scriptures. He talks of Sanskrit and he explains everything. He doesn't have any power or position anywhere. Only position that he has is that he is the advisor for the king. But unfortunately, how they have spread this idea that the whole country went against his Brahmanas. And when you historically look at it, the Brahmanas, the torture that they were subjected to by the external rulers when they came to India is that the whole thing is based because that we have such a extraordinary, wonderful knowledge in this culture. That's the reason why this culture was progressing, and it was at the top of the world at that point of time. That's why they thought that Brahmanas hold the whole scriptures and the knowledge. Therefore, there's two things that their attack was on the Brahmanas and also on the scriptures. That's why Nalanda University was burned. So that clearly shows that there is some agenda with which that Brahmanas were painted something which is bad. Unfortunately, that somehow a lot of our leaders also took to that idea. I read somewhere very simple idea that they used to burn their sati, etc. The other day that I read one report which says that after the Johar that has taken place in Rajasthan, afterwards no woman is burnt, no woman is killed, and nothing sati was there. But people attributed to that and say Rajaram Mohan Rai was a hero who fought against that. It's a total nonsense. There was no historical evidence for that. Johar, yes, there is a historical evidence, but the reason why the Johar happened is because of the Muslims. They almost like invaded the whole of uh, Rajasthan, and they were subjecting to the women to all kinds of atrocities. Women didn't want to stand that. They wanted to have their purity and also their culture, purity of the culture. That's why they all jumped into the fire. And that only happened when Rani Padmini was there. Other than that, we don't have any historical evidence of women entering into sati. But there are so many evidences which says that because of the pativrata, that means to say her devotion to the husband, that they gave up their life just like that, and it's not ichha marana, ichha mukti. This is what they have done it. And such people were supposed to be satitva. They did not leave it. That's the reason why the sati has come. In fact, I have seen my own, I know with my own, I during my own time itself, something like that happening. The husband and wife, they're so totally devoted to each other. And they were from small little place in Andhra Pradesh. And then he was extraordinary, wonderful scientist. And he was such a great scientist that he was world known, and he was going to America for a conference. He was supposed to present some Indian ideas and all that. And he was also one of the passengers in the Kanishka flight. And when Kanishka flight went down into the water because the terrorist attack, the Khalistan terrorist attack, they attacked that Kanishka aeroplane. It fell down. He died. And those days we have no communications, what's happening anywhere. In fact, we came to know in India when Kanishka fell down after about 4 or 5 days in the newspaper. Something like that was there. So what they have done is that when that he died, Government of India at that time sent few people from the his department and other thing to his wife, who was there in some small little village, and then his picture was taken, and then they went with that message that unfortunately your husband died, and this is a memory of it that we put the garland and his picture and some 21 gun salutes, etc., etc. All that was done. The lady was such a simple lady, and she was at home. All that he heard is her husband died in the plane crash. He said was that, oh, he died, he is no more. That's all. And afterwards, there is no more words. They looked at her, what happened? She also died. She left the body right immediately. And this news came. In fact, I was so young at that time, probably. I was surprised at the way that she gave up her body. Sati happened that way. Like that, this used to happen. There is the same thing like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He granted to Sharda Devi. He said that you are sati all the time. You are not vidva. You are always a sadhava. That means to say, I am there. Wherever you thought, wherever who you talk, they are all nothing but my own replica only, that they are there in my disciples, and this will be there. And she followed that. She did not give up her satihood, her womanhood as a pativrata. She did not give up herself. So these are the things, evidences which show that how much women were respected, and it was all wrong stories that women were burnt and all that. And this happened in the case of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's time, and Rajaram Mohan Rai was not very far from that time. Actually, after Vivekananda, Rajaram Mohan Rai was there, he was a leader. So therefore, that it would have been enormous amount of information if something like that happened. So therefore, that it's all, in my view, they're all the stories that were created. This culture, because of these vertical that they created, everything was there. And Grahastha is the level who are managing all those things. Therefore, this survived for 10,000 years. There was never indication, there was never a historical evidence saying that one, the Varna fought with another Varna in this culture at all. And not only that, for the sake of convenience, they have made the Jati and Kula, which last time also I was explaining, that these are for the sake of facility in the activity that they have done it. All these divisions were there. Wonderful divisions were there, and then they were cooperating with each other. Because basically there is one very important point that we should always remember, that our own very nature as human being, as creation, three important things. One is the health is our own nature. Health is not coming from outside. That's why we have the word called as swastha. Being in the self, that's what is swastha. And it's not just only at the physical level, but at all personality level, we are in a swastha. In fact, our mind has to be in swastha, our body has to be in swastha, our intelligence has to be in swastha. Everything is in the form of swastha, and that's what is our own nature. And swa means self, stha means being. When I'm in myself, that's what is. And when I'm going away from myself, that is aswastha. Sickness is when you go away from yourself. And there should be a reason why you go away from yourself. We know very clearly that if somebody is sick, it is because of some reason or the other. Some virus is going on, therefore somebody has a viral fever. It is from the outside that is there, because of which that he is aswastha. And aswastha, I keep saying, in just now also I was saying that health is our own nature, it's our own personality, whereas sickness is a guest coming from outside. All right, give respect to the guest for a couple of days. Afterwards, you just ask him to go finish. It's over. So just we give certain things to see that he will not survive. And that's how basically the way give respect to the disease and then see that he goes away. That's the idea. The very name in English also, it's very beautiful. When the guest is there, we are uncomfortable. That's why it is called a disease. Uncomfortable is disease. So that is what is the idea. So therefore, this is very simple idea. So, and the second thing that we have, our own nature, is what is called as the harmony. There's a very big statement that harmony we had, and our people adapted right from the deep inside core that they have adapted that harmony. Harmony is that if you are like me, then only you will have harmony. Otherwise, we can't have harmony. That's not the way. You are your own way. I respect you the way that you are and the way that I am myself. Therefore, there should be two different things. There should be harmony. I always give that example about this harmony. That don't you have that? Don't you look at that harmony? Roots in the soil do not know what is happening in the sky, and the wonderful flowers and the foliage in the sky, they don't know where they get sap from. But there is such a beautiful harmony between the sap, between the roots and the flowers and the foliage. And that harmony is the health of the plant. Even if you take a small little plant, this harmony is there. So that harmony is supposed to be its own nature. The same way we have to have harmony with another. You take an orange fruit, bitter seed inside and the wonderful fruit, born together, grow to the fullness together. Seed will not disturb the fruit. Fruit does not say to the fruit seed, come on, you also be like me, sweet. Then only you can stay here. Otherwise, get out of this place. It doesn't say that. It says that let us live together. And that living together, growing together, and actually sharing the same space that they have is what is the harmony between the roots and the fruit. And because of that, you keep the orange for a couple of days, it still stays. Whereas the moment you separate them out in the form of the roots are separate, the fruit is separate, and the um, seed is separate, you see that such a separated one, that means to say juice, you cannot keep it for more than 2 3 hours. You'll have to consume it. See, that means what is keeping them for 2 3 days is this harmony. So look at the way that there is so much of harmony, and actually the way that creation is started also, not in the form of opposition to each other, but it is in the form of harmony. That's what Taittiriya Upanishad said. The simple harmony we could think of it is the harmony between hunger and eating. Hunger is called as annadav, and anna is the food. So hunger and food, these two things, they are in harmony. Brahman becomes Annavan Annado Bhavati, both these things. And when you put these two things, you get Ananda. That's why Annavan Annado Bhavati, Mahan Bhavati, Prajapashubhi Brahmavarchasena. Everywhere, this is Brahmavarchas. That means to say, the supreme satisfaction that you touch is the Brahmavarship. So therefore, harmony is talked about everywhere. And in fact, when once I was giving this talk about harmony, Prashanti, some one husband and wife, they said, Raghuramji, you talk about harmony. that was there at one point of time. In our house, we can't have harmony. I said, why? Because you don't know. We, husband and wife, we are poles apart. I said, in your statement itself, there is harmony. That is, look at the North Pole and South Pole in a magnet. They are in harmony. And you cut them into two pieces. Again, North Pole, South Pole, there is harmony. Everywhere there is harmony. So, only thing is that the harmony gets disturbed when you say that somebody has to listen to me, somebody should be like me, and everybody should listen to me. The harmony is gone. Once you recognize that harmony, that means there is such a wonderful mutual respect. And that's what is last time I was saying. Namaste is an idea that I respect you the way that you are. I didn't want you to change. You are original, you are natural. And that's what basically is the way that we have to have harmony. Because that harmony was there in this culture, there are so many kings, there were so many, these verticals were there, four verticals were there. They were in harmony. That means to say, a Brahmana used to work in harmony with Kshatriya, work in harmony with the Vaishya and Shudra, so that there is such a wonderful harmony between them, no hierarchy. Actually, I came to know one place that where this hierarchy came to the being when Britishers came, they wanted to write a rostrum. In the rostrum, they said at the top they put the Brahmin, at the bottom they put the Vaishya Shudra. So therefore, that rostrum is created. This is ever since then all this idea of hierarchy and then one upper and lower, all these things came into the picture. And later on, politicians have come and concretized the whole issue. Otherwise, that there was such a wonderful harmony. And even till today, if you go to deeper layers of this culture, that you can see that harmony exists. People love each other, the work that they are doing it, respect the work that you are doing. That's how it used to be there. Because of that reason only, this structure also was like this, that these four Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra was there, even at a village level and at a province level, at the nation level, everywhere it was there. So all these things were in harmony. When this way society is characterized by nature and the activity were defined, at that point of time, you can imagine that speculation was also very easy. A few parameters here and there, you put them together and then speculate. And that speculation science has developed very much in this country. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's not something like that you make believe or some mystic idea. Actually, that they took the references for that is supposed to be our grahas. That means a person is born is grahas. And then they have worked out a idea, a formula that this particular arrangement is there, this particular thing is there. Such people are supposed to be intellectual, etc., etc. So therefore, that whole of the speculative science like Jyotisha, like the Vastu Shastra, some of these Shastras which are supposed to be speculative sciences, they're all developed based on this kind of a thing for a society which was totally in harmony with each other in this way. It was not that somebody has to become a king, somebody has to become a Brahmin. That was not the idea. The idea was that you try to do the activity that you really like it, because hierarchically there was nothing like that. Unfortunately, what happened slowly, everything is to work, everything is converted in terms of money. You pay money, so therefore that you get it. So higher paid salaries, therefore that means higher work, and the lower work. So this way, what happened is that when convert the activity into money, then basically that this hierarchy has come. In the hierarchy, the person who suffered the most extraordinary work person doing, but suffered the most was the housewife. Because housewife work is never valued. There is nothing like money paid for that housework. If you would like to pay money to the housewife, then you see what will happen. Husband cannot have enough money to pay her. That will be the condition that comes up. How much work she does. In fact, not only in this culture, in the other cultures also, a person who does not work outside in the office in terms of money is not respected. Once it so happened, one of my friends in Germany, he was saying, his wife was saying, we were going to Kanyakumari, husband and wife and a couple of others also. That time, this topic suddenly came up, and then wife said, Raghuramji, what you said is so true. My husband, he's supposed to be director of that hospital where I was working. He says that right from the morning when he gets up, he gives me, while drinking coffee, he has some instruction. Then taking bath, suddenly he says, sweetheart, do this particular thing, pay to the bank, go to the bank and do this thing. Like that, he keeps on saying till you go to the office, till he reaches the office. I have to remember all those things. I can't have a book where to write. Whatever he says, yes, yes, because I'm doing so much the other work. Then I remember all those things and then I put all those things and then he goes to the office. I feel relaxed. When he reaches the office, he calls me and says, what are you doing? As if I don't have any work to do. She said, tell him that I'm equally responsible for the whole house. And of course, humorous that was there. So therefore, what happens is that this way that housewife has become most casualty, best casualty. In fact, these days it has come to a level where a lady who says that yes, I take care of the children at home, I take care of house, I take care of my mother-in-law, father-in-law, or whatever it is, she looked down upon. She said, what? Your education is wasted. You did so much of studies and all that. What happened to it? It's such a horrible thing. That's such a notion itself. Actually, that's what Vivekananda said so beautifully. That you might become an engineer, you might become a doctor, you might become a scientist. The degrees will give you that. But more important thing is you are educated. What you have studied does not important, is not important, but you are educated. Feel that you are educated, that's most important thing. And once you are educated, then whatever work that you do it is something that is on your hand, and then do that. This is one aspect of it in this culture. Second thing is very important aspect I feel is that we were continuously such a beautiful country with here and there few wars, but other than that, very harmoniously that we were living together, all those things. For centuries together, thousands of years, that millennia we were here. Though there were so many countries were there, in fact, kingdoms were there. In spite of all these kingdoms, we had such a harmony, and it's all belonged to one culture. They never decided, did I disidentify themselves with that culture. They're part of this culture. So this culture was there, kingdoms were there, kings were there, Brahmins were there, discussions used to go on. All these things were going on so beautifully. The problems came up only when invaders came to this country. When invaders came, they don't know about all this arrangement, all this beautiful thing that was there. They never knew about that. All that they mattered for them is that India is a rich country, and their whole character is the whole character, wherever who has come from any corner of the world, the character is that how to loot this country because there's so much of wealth. I was surprised to see the loot of this country in almost like 50, 60 countries abroad. And in fact, they have displayed that in the museums, and not only that, below that, they have written also saying that so and so smuggled this from India and brought to this country, and he has donated to the King Charles or King this, King that, and all that. Whether you go to London Museum or whether you go to Prague, in fact, I saw in Prague such a lot of material which are coming from India. I went to Turkey museum. There were so many items which are supposed to be brought from India. Half broken statues from the temples and all those things. They were very proud to say, announcing that yes, we looted from India and brought these things. And they are displayed. I was surprised. I was thinking that if I was one person, I belonged to one of those countries, I would have rebelled against it. I said, if you have bought it, please, with respect, give it back to them, saying that please have that. Unfortunately, this is what happened. They have come to this country and looted the wealth and all those things before we realized one idea. Before that, there is one idea that we had the problem. We had the problem. Look at the way that all the gods and goddesses, we have the weapons in their hand. On one side, Abhay Hasta was there, but also on the other side, there were weapons. Such weapons. That description itself was so extraordinary. With all those things, unfortunately, what happened? We have overcarried the idea of the ahimsa, non-violence. Ahimsa is a wonderful statement from the point of view of yoga, one of the steps of yoga, but it is not that ahimsa was ultimate. Where himsa was necessary, we could take to the case of himsa, and we have that in our scriptures. We statements we say that last resort should be himsa. That's why he said, Samadana Veda Danda. Danda is the last one. Don't resort to danda of beginning itself. So therefore, that we also had this provision to see that if you want to hit somebody, make some violence, to see that it is like a surgery. It's like the way that you do the surgery to remove the injured part of it, suffering part, so that you can save the rest of India, rest of the world. This is what we have done. In fact, that's why we have the Kshatriya Dharma is something that is supposed to protect us. And we created the whole vertical on that, Kshatriya. And we have in our history such Kshatriyas who have done that. But unfortunately, that over a period of time, the importance is given so much to ahimsa, and himsa was totally, completely neglected. And such stories are given. Like even Jesus Christ also said that if somebody hits on one cheek, show the other cheek. This way, what happened is that not only that we did not, and apart from that, all the things which are necessary for protecting ourselves, preserving ourselves, that we lost interest in all those things. So we had such extraordinary, wonderful weaponry, and then we have lost that art of producing that weaponry. In fact, we know that when the Rana Pratap was the king, at that time, especially, he got the swords, which are, can you imagine a sword which is 30 feet, 35 feet swords with special steel and such, and you have to roll it and hold it in your hand. And such weapons were made in Kerala. And then because Kerala is the place where Kalaripu art and then this fighting and all that were developed in that area. So therefore he got the swords of that nature and of that type, and also that how to fight with these swords. That's also a big art. All the training he has given when he got them when he was their king as Rana Pratap. So there are historical evidences about all those things we had. So over a period of time, what happened is we have lost the weaponry, we have lost the use of weaponry, we became so weak, so meek, and the fighting spirit is gone. And that is where basically ahimsa has become a particular uh, poison for this whole country itself. Vivekananda always used to say that ahimsa can only have a value when you have the power, strength within you. If you don't have strength, if you are weak, then you call yourself ahimsa, then nobody will listen to your ahimsa. That's what happened to this country. Vivekananda said even before that happened in this country, people did not listen to him. So that's why they allowed himsa to happen on us, and then we always took it as ahimsa is our way. Especially when Gandhiji came, so unfortunate that he was supposed to be the leader of this country. But whenever there used to be a himsa against Hinduism happened, Sanatana Dharmis happened, then he would do fast. He would not say anything to them because he says that, yeah, karma will take care of it. But whenever Hindus do anything like that, he would go on fast. He would threaten them that he will kill himself. So all these things are like arm twisting kind of a situation that was there. We never understood from Ramayana, Mahabharata that himsa is something that is very important. And so beautifully that in Ramayana, Rama waited for Samudra, ocean to give way. 7 days he did tapasya, ocean did not give way. And after the seventh day, he just got up. He said, "You don't understand what is that my mission in life." So he took out the bow and arrow and said that I'm going to dry you up, Sagaram Shochaishyami. When he said that, immediately Sagara came running and falling at the feet of Rama, said, "Yes, I can provide in such a way that you can go across." So these are the historical legendary evidences that we have. Similarly, we have in Mahabharata also, Himsa was taken up by, and that too, how beautifully, war was taken up by Krishna. Before that, all this happened, whatever that happened, they were in the Ajnatavasa, Aranyavasa, spent about 13 years outside and all that. When they came back, then Krishna wanted to go for negotiations. Then he went to Pandavas before and said, "Yes, what are your terms and conditions?" And then, of course, you know how everybody was simply holding the toes of Yudhishthira, who said, no, talk to nicely, do this, don't unnecessarily, all these things. I don't want war. And Draupadi was simply burning inside. And he said to Krishna, wow, all the brothers say that there is no fight, no fire, no power. But look at it. What are the insults that we have gone through? All these things. He said, no, reply for that. And you are going for negotiations. And she also added to that, taunting Krishna, saying that, look, when you go and talk to them nicely, they are going to agree. You see, Krishna replies to such beautiful words to Draupadi. He said that, my dear Krishna, she is known as Krishna. Krishna, just because that these people said no war should take place, do you mean to say that Kauravas agree with that? Just because I go and talk, do you think that Kauravas have respect for me? Pandavas have respect for me. Kauravas don't respect me. So therefore, war is not going to stop. War is definitely going to take place. But you are such a great lady, such an extraordinary, wonderful woman. You are one of those five different illustrated Kanyas that were there. Sita, Draupadi, etc., etc. In that category, you are. You are such a noble lady. Don't bring your hair if it can save a few lives in the war. Don't say that, my hair is open and it has to be tied, etc., etc. Forget about it. Don't bring it down. Make yourself cheap. But war will take place. And then Krishna says one thing very happy. He says, very nice. He says that Pandavas are not fighting. Kauravas are coming for war. Pandavas are not going for war. Kauravas are going for war. And Pandavas will resist them. And one who rises the war is the person who is weak. So therefore, they are the weaklings and they lose the war. And we'll emerge victorious. And that's what Krishna says. And the same thing when he goes to Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, even Dhritarashtra, he repeats the same sentence saying that Pandavas are not coming to you for war. They are coming to you, give whatever that eligible for them. And you are inviting them for war. And who invite them for war? That means your son is inviting them for war. You will be the loser, not the Pandavas. I am cautioning you before itself because they are strong. You are weak. You may have kingdom, you may have this, you may have all these things, but they have the inner strength. They have the strength of the righteousness. They will win the war. He cautions them. And the same thing happened of the war. That Kaurava lost, Pandavas won the war. So this basically, we always expected the war to take place. And not only that, how many Puranic stories are there? Demons we always fought. And that's what we had such a beautiful week of Navaratri days, where it is every day is supposed to be a relinquishing or vanquishing one of the demon or the other. So therefore, and it is not just only anybody, it's a women Shakti. And that's what has done that. Such a great respect in this country that we have. Unfortunately, for a long time, that we did not decide about the war. As a result of it, we have been subjugated for 200 years. It's not really too long. We should just able to come out of it. But at the same time, as long as we still hold on to the idea that ahimsa, paramo dharma, that is there, but it does not mean that it denies the himsa aspect of it when the correction necessary. Himsa aspect is like the way that it's a surgical strike. Surgery is to remove the part of the body which is going to, if it is there in the body, it's going to affect other parts of the body. Therefore, surgery is important to see that what is the affected portion is trying to remove it to save the other people. Even till today, unfortunately, we see that this country is still reeling behind this ahimsa. Hurry, when something is happening, take an immediate action to see that himsa is removed and then ahimsa. Dharma has to be protected, adharma has to be removed. This is what Manu also said. Dharma eva hato hantihi, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Tasmat dharmo nahantavyaha, nako dharmo hato vadit. Very beautiful statement from Manu Dharma Shastra, way back that he has given us. And then still today, anything that you see which is adharmic, try to see that how you can eliminate it, how you can remove that. In whatever circle that you are there, you see that it has to be eliminated. My brother used to say, in fact, those days, about 40 years ago, when that we had so much of corruption in the world, in the going to the government offices, the corruption, going on the road, there is corruption and all that. My brother used to say a very beautiful statement, look, see, we need to protect people from corruption. And then he would say that without corrupting, that I will not get my activity to continue. Because basically he was running a business. He had a house. You can imagine that house building, how much of corruption he has to make. Running a business, how much of corruption that he has to do. But then he said one thing very beautiful. He said that anything where that I have to do the bribing or anything like that, I will not send my son. I do it myself. Because anyway, I am spoiled. Because my society has spoiled me. But I sincerely hope, I pray to the God that his society, when he grows up, the society will be pure from corruption. I don't want to introduce him to the corruption. If that society that was there with him introduces him corruption, let him do it. But I don't want to make him that corruption the way of life. It was such a beautiful statement they made, and he lived that. Throughout the life, he lived that. He said, anything that is to be done, let's do it our generation, not for the next generation. And you can see that India has come out of that to some degree or the other. We are just improving that way, in that sense. So, therefore, essentially, that where we had to take the himsa in our hand to protect the dharma, we have to do it. We should not allow dharma to die. So, that is what we need to do it. And in that aspect of it, we had all these provision for the national freedom struggle and the various ways of uh, various ways of registering or protest against various things. All these things have to be there. In fact, when you think of this registering or protest against something like that, particularly one of the things that we know today is the what is that fast unto death, Nirahara Diksha. Gandhiji always used to say fast unto death. And that's how he understood the Hindus. But this fast unto death till I die, that has come up in Ramayana. In fact, what happened is that in Ramayana, when Rama was there, went into the forest, Chitrakoot, at that time, all the people go there, Bharata and mothers and Vasishta and all that, they go there. And so Jabala was also there at that point of time, Rishi Jabala. They wanted to request Rama to come back. And they tried all kinds of tricks, and Rama did not agree. Because every time, whatever that they say, Rama could convince them with logic, with idea, that he is not going to come back. He is going to go for forest for 14 years, the word that he has given to his father. Bharata will take care of the kingdom. Finally, that was the verdict. Everybody said, this is going to happen. People like Janaka was there at that time. Vasishta was there. They said, this is what Rama says. That's what is right. We are going to follow that. At that point of time, suddenly, Bharata gets an idea saying that, okay, let that happen. Because he was the person who was really came with that heavy heart, wanted some or the other to take his brother back. He said, okay, let this be decided, but I will lie down in front of this Patnakutir, and if Rama has to walk out of this place, he has to walk on my body. I'll stay here till I die. I'm at this place. That means it's like very similar to the Bhuk Hartal, fasting unto death. That's what Bharata said. I will not get up from here. I will lie down and then let Rama, Sita, whatever that they would like to do, let them do it. That was one time Rama shows his anger. Shows means unhappiness. He says, Bharata, come on, get up. You cannot do that. See, when dharma is to be decided, you should not threaten dharma by, arm twisting. It's not by forcing it. This is something that you are doing against dharma itself. It's a sin against dharma. And he tells Bharata, please go to the river down, Sarayu river, take bath, and then wash your sin there, and then come back. And first thing is that you bow down to your mother and your teacher, and then come to me, bow down to me, and then I will grant you that you are free from this sin. That means to say, when you do a fast unto death for no reason, that's something which is anti-dharmic. And so he makes Bharata to do all that and then go back to Ayodhya. When I read that, when I knew about that, I said, how many times Gandhiji has done the fast unto death and threatened to see that arm twisting the Indians, arm twisting the Hindus against the Muslims. So all these things are happened because that we did not understand Sanatana Dharma properly. So therefore, all that what we have is the importance of Sanatana Dharma. By itself, it was supposed to be there. If we had followed that same Sanatana Dharma which has come from ages, and the same thing we could have adapted, probably a lot of these speculative sciences also would have been very true. Because basically we don't have that. A Kshatriya used to do the Kshatriya work, Brahmana used to do the Brahmana work, Vaishya used to do the Vaishya work, Shudra is to do the Shudra work. There is no question of hierarchy, but it is their guna that made them to do it. Then that society would have been very, very harmonious in that way. Therefore, then it is easy to predict or what a person would be like. Exceptions can be here and there, but the rule is something like that. So when a child is born, when they take it to astrologer, the whole astrology was depending upon certain signs and all that, then this person is going to become like this. This person is going to become like that. When there are some strange signs, then they would see that, yes, this person is going to become different. Even that also, they were afraid of saying it openly. There was such a beautiful story in the case of when Gautama Buddha was born. Shuddhodana, after such a long time waiting, almost like old age, at that time Buddha was born. And his name was Siddhartha. And then immediately the astrologers were called. And there was one astrologer who was young. Just he came from the astrology school and then learnt about astrology, came back. Godanna was his name, and he was there. And his father was also a very great astrologer who was there. Various other astrologers were there. And then this birth details of this boy was given to him, them, and this boy Siddhartha. When they looked at all those things, everybody said, yeah, there is chances that he'll become a great king. If he becomes a king, he'll become a great king. And there's some little chances that he might become a saint also, great saint. He will, but then they were hesitant to say that he will give up the kingdom and go away. When it came to Kodanas, he said, what is this you people are lying? Because very clearly the horoscope shows that he is going to leave this kingdom and go away. And he became a very great saint. They were all afraid because that if they say that, Shuddhodana will be, his father would be unhappy, therefore he will punish them or whatever it is. But Kodanna was very clear. He said definitely he is going to become a sannyasi, not only ordinary sannyasi, he establishes one whole system of sannyasa that was there. That's what Gautam Buddha. He became a Buddha. And he didn't have money. He didn't have any riches. When he came back home after self-realization at Bodh Gaya, then he came back home. When he came back home, his father was still angry with him. After such a long time, I have a son. And that son also left everything, went away to the forest. Without even telling me, middle of the night, he got up and went away. And people said that he has come back, that he was angry because he saw that his son was not prepared to take over the kingdom. He said, come on, take over the kingdom because after me, you are the person. He says, no, I've taken sannyasa, I'm going out. And then father shouted at him, saying that all these things you have done it. Nothing will belong to you. I am not going to give anything. And the kingdom that he said, all this, those days it was a very rich kingdom. And that was the kingdom of Bihar at that time. I mean, it's not today's Bihar. Those days, Bihar, it was such a rich place. And then he said that nothing will belong to you. He smiled. Buddha smiled. I said, I didn't want, that's why I left everything and went away. Even now, I came back just to tell you that I have self realized, not because I wanted this kingdom. Very peaceful. And that peaceful reply that he has given actually enraged his father all the more. Yes, your arrogance, you went away, you don't want any kingdom. I built this kingdom so big, so this, and all those things. But not for you, you don't require it. But if your son tomorrow asks you, Dad, what is going to give me? You have nothing. Every son is going to ask his father, what is that you have for me? Then Buddha smiled and said, let my son ask me what he wants. And then you will see that. Then because of all these things that his father, Shuddhodana, actually he pushed Rahul, that is Buddha's son. I mean, that Rahul. He said, Rahul, go and ask your dad what is that he can give. Come on. And then Rahul goes to his father and asks, please give me what you can give me. Buddha had only one thing in his hand, that's what is the Bhiksha Patra, the bowl. And he gave that to his son. He said, son, take this and come along with me. The father was shocked. Shuddhodana thought that he lost his son. He lost his grandson also. 8-year-old boy, he went with his son. Directly went for the school that his father was teaching. And that happened in Sarnath. Actually, if you go to visit Sarnath, there are the series of disciples who were there where Buddha gave the basic teachings to all these people. And you can see all those figures that were there. The last figure was a small little boy, small statue, and that statue is that of Rahul. So Rahul became his disciple, student, and then he was somebody extraordinary person who carried the Buddhism. And later on, Rahul is the one who took that Buddhism to Sri Lanka. So, which means basically that Buddha's story is an extraordinary, wonderful story to show that how this country lived these characters that were there. We always had this idea of that live the idea that is there, and kings, extraordinary kings were there, extraordinary Brahmins were there. Look at all the scriptures we have written by the Brahmins that were there. Take any Shastra, all these people who have written these Shastras were great saints, extraordinary saints. Bhartrihari was such a great saint. He has written the whole sutras that were there. Kama Sutras was given by such a beautiful saint, Vatsyayana. When you look at all these things, you see that people have done the research into the whole of Indian thinking. It was only possible when people were in the Grasthashrama, took up one activity or the other, and then mastered in that activity, get to the ultimate. This is what Vivekananda statement. We should remember all that. He says that take one idea, digest that idea, own that idea, make that idea your own, and afterwards you work for that idea. And that's what is life. So that life itself is something which is basically this way. When you take it, then each idea can become an extraordinary, wonderful knowledge base behind it. So it's all the contribution to this Grihastha were extraordinary, wonderful thing. Happened in this Grihasthas, and we might have changed that particular lifestyle at that time that was there, but today it is a different lifestyle. It does not mean that we cannot adapt these ideas. What ideas 10,000 years ago that was there, adapted 5,000 years back, 3,000 years back, 1,000 years back, today also we can definitely adapt to the current situation so that we can enliven the whole of Dharma according to the present day situation. So that what happens is this Grasthashrama, we graduate into sannyasa, the vanaprastha. It's an extraordinary, wonderful step what we need to go to the vanaprastha. So once we see that how that graduation takes place, are we really eligible for vanaprastha? Today, unfortunately, what happened is that they don't even look at, am I eligible for grastha? Even that's also not there. Even that's also not looked at. But let us try to look at it to see that how somebody graduates into Grasthashrama, and from there how he graduates into Vanaprastha. When we do that, we are really doing the justification for Sanatana Dharma the sages have given us, and it is still vibrant, living there in the world, living there in our culture. Let's make this culture, whatever the idea that we're given, if it percolates into every part of the world survives. That's what is the strength of this culture. Survive for 10,000 years, will survive for another 10,000 years. We will become the one Vishwa Guru, provided we understand the Sanatana Dharma in its full essence. So, with these ideas, I will stop it here. We'll continue next week with these further details. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
If anyone has any doubts, you can please unmute. Okay, Raghuramji. See you next Thursday.
Right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful session. And
Thank you.
Oh,
Jayashri. Yeah, after a long time, Jayashri, you're coming online.
Yes, Raghuramji.